You got nothing left to lose tonight. In the end we'll see a change. Only love lasts, only love. In the night we shall go in. Will you follow me down, 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 down? It's the crime of the century. We fight for the reason honoring everyone we left behind. Till the light is brought back to every kind. Give me everything you got. Let's leave this world behind.
What's up guys, it's Kara here, and I didn't have a ton of vlog footage from the weekend as I planned. Just had like a really busy weekend, so I wanted to take the opportunity to do a little talk about some of the harsh realities of prepping for a bikini or bodybuilding competition. As you guys know, I am prepping right now. I try to stay as positive as I can. I try to be a positive, upbeat person and remain that way in all things that I do in my life. So I think it's important though to not just glamorize competing and share with you guys that there are a lot of harsh realities. There's a lot of negative things that we can associate with competing, and I think bikini competitions are still increasingly popular, and a lot of people sign themselves up not always knowing what they're getting themselves into. So let's get right into it, and I'm gonna focus on some of the negatives. As I said, yes, I love competing, so don't worry about it. Those that love it, I got you. You don't have to defend it, but for this video's purposes, we're gonna just discuss the negatives. Harsh reality number one is it is a huge financial burden. You guys can kind of see that wherever you look based on different organizations. It may cost a little bit less, a little bit more, but there are tons of costs associated with competing. So first and foremost, you need to think about that aspect of it before you sign yourself up for a competition. Yes, there are ways to go about it where you can cut corners. There are certain things I recommend and don't recommend cutting corners on, but ultimately you are going to spend a lot of money on competing. Your registration fees alone, your bikini alone, can be upwards of $1,000 based on where you get it from, all the things that go along with it: hair, makeup, jewelry, the cost of the amount of food you're going to be eating, maybe your gym memberships if you don't already have them, your coach, whether you get a diet coach, a personal trainer, a posing coach, all these things add up. Okay, so, and there's certain things, like I said, you're not going to want to skimp on if you want to be competitive in the sport. So that alone right there, you need to consider. If finances are an issue for you, maybe competing is not what you should be doing. That probably shouldn't be your priority. Harsh reality number two is dieting. Are you someone that can diet? Ask yourself that question and honestly answer it. Because if you are someone that has never been successful with dieting or trying to lose weight previously, I do not recommend you sign yourself up for a competition as means of motivation. It doesn't work like that. And I think a lot of people, unfortunately, when they want to take their bodies to the next level, the world we live in today, it's like the next obvious step has got to be stepping on stage, and it really shouldn't be. If you're someone that struggles with losing weight, or you have a hard time sticking to a diet, portion control, really low calories, this is not going to be the best approach for you. You are not going to be happy, and odds are you may not be able to stick with it, and you may end up quitting. When you are dieting so hard that you have to get your fat levels down to a very low level. And as females, we're not used to sitting with very low body fat levels for our hormones to work correctly, for our mood, our sex drive, all that kind of stuff. To take our bodies to that extreme is extremely challenging for even those that can diet. I mean, dieting's not easy for anyone, but really think about if you have the ability and the discipline for what it takes to diet to those extremes to get to that very low body fat percentage. Want some? The next harsh reality of competing is sacrifices are gonna have to get made. And maybe that sounds like basic information, but I find a lot of competitors get into prep and there's a lot of things they are not willing to do. They're not willing to give up certain foods, or they're not willing to, with holidays for instance, maybe that's not something that they had even thought about having to adjust their lifestyle to. Certain events, do you have 3 weddings planned or a vacation scheduled during your potential prep? Those are all things that you can certainly work with. You guys know I approach prep that way, but you do have to kind of go back to how competitive are you going to be in this sport, and what are you willing to do, and what are you willing to sacrifice? Is it going to be your 21st birthday, and are you willing to give up going out and drinking? Alcohol in general, are you willing to give that up during your prep? There's a lot of things that are going to be sacrificed in order to prep and to be competitive in the sport. You have to know that going into it. You are going to sacrifice your social life. Sure, there's ways to have balance and incorporate it still, but you are going to be tired. You're going to be hungry. You're going to get to a place where you don't want to be around people eating foods that you can't eat, or you're just not going to maybe even have the energy to go out on a Friday, Saturday night like you once did. So you need to think about all those things and really kind of commit to those sacrifices ahead of time, because if you go into it knowing you're going to have to sacrifice, mentally it makes it a little bit easier to commit to it. But if you go into this blind, not thinking you're going to have to give stuff up, then you're fooling yourself, and you're eventually going to get really bitter towards the process, maybe bitter towards your coach, bitter towards competing, and you may decide to kind of throw it in the bag because you don't want to give all these things up. So really think about what sacrifices are going to have to be made during the time frame that you're choosing to compete, and are you willing to sacrifice certain things in your life? You need to also think about the supports that you have in your life. The reality is, you guys see on my channel, Shredded Heezy supports the crap out of me. He helps me, assists me. He makes the prep process something I am able to do. That's not the reality though for most people. I've known plenty of people that their husband is not supportive, or their wife isn't supportive. Their family members aren't supportive and don't get it. And it makes it very, very challenging. That is going to challenge your why. It's going to challenge your purpose for why you're competing. People, when they don't understand something, when they're kind of ignorant to it, if you will, they try to challenge you and make you feel like you shouldn't be doing it. So be prepared if you have people in your life that aren't going to get it, they're not going to understand it. You need to kind of know that going into it and be okay with it. Because when you're having those days where your diet is getting cut down and you're tired because you're training hard and maybe you didn't get sleep, it's tough when all of a sudden you have someone come up to you and start questioning why you're doing this. It can really put you in a negative headspace and make it really, really a negative approach for you. So think about who you have in your life, who's going to support you and not support you. And not everyone is going to support you. That's okay. I'm not saying you can't prep without having everyone and their brother be like on your team, but just be mindful that not everyone is going to understand what you're doing and why. You are going to get involved in a different kind of food and body shaming that you may not be used to. For instance, if you're following set meals or you're dieting, you're sticking to your diet, maybe you're deciding to not partake in the usual festivities that you normally would. Like, come on girl, we always do pizza Wednesdays or bagel Tuesdays, or let's go get a drink after work. These might be things that were previously part of your lifestyle that you're now choosing to not be involved in. That you're saying no thank you to. I'm going to eat my little meal prepped in a Tupperware. I'm going to pass on going out this evening. I have to go to the gym. Not everyone's going to understand that. And when people don't understand it, they sometimes may try to peer pressure you or guilt trip you into changing your mind. Like, come on, you're skinny enough, you've already lost enough weight, a slice of pizza isn't gonna hurt you, or having some cake because Johnny is going away, that's not gonna hurt you, come on. And people will really, really peer pressure you, especially when it comes to food, and especially if people are making not so healthy food decisions, and you're the one odd man out saying, no, I'm good, I'm gonna eat my healthy prepped meal here. That tends to kind of piss people off sometimes, and it can kind of come out passive aggressive. So if you guys have ever run into that before, it can be really challenging when you're competing. And I've had plenty of clients, and I've been in the position myself where it can sabotage you, where you can allow yourself to easily be sabotaged, and it's not even till after the fact that you're like, oh my goodness, I don't know why I gave in and I had the cookies, I was doing so good today. And that peer pressure, that lack of support can really impact you. So that's kind of the food shaming aspect. And then the body shaming. You would think because you're losing weight and getting really lean, you're going to notice that people are going to start making comments about your body. And it's not always going to be positive. The reality is people comment on people's bodies all the time, but you are going to have some people that aren't going to get it, and they're going to tell you, you look like you need to eat a cheeseburger, you look anorexic, you look sick, are you sure you're not losing too much weight? And these comments aren't always easy to deal with. They may make you question, why am I competing? Should I be competing? Is this healthy? Is this not right for me? So you need to, again, recognize why you're choosing to compete. And I like to take that opportunity to educate people. At the same time, your body and people making comments about it, I don't really tolerate that as well. I don't feel like it should be someone else's place to make comments about how my body looks to them. I didn't ask for their opinion. So you have a couple options of how to address that. If you're struggling with that, you can get a little feisty back with them and just tell them, I really don't appreciate you commenting on my body. Or, I understand you're concerned. However, I'm competing for a bodybuilding competition. Are you aware of what that takes? Have you ever looked at that before? And a lot of people may just not realize the level of leanness that is required to compete at a bodybuilding competition. So you just have to be prepared for that, because that is going to set you up for the next harsh reality, which is the mind fuck of competing. And having a mindset that's going to allow you to compete and be competitive it's really essential that you stay as positive thinking as you can throughout your prep. And all these negative factors or other lacks of support that may try to bring you down, you need to be able to not let it. And it can be tough some days. It can be really tough. So you need to kind of assess yourself from the get-go and say, am I the type of person that has my goal, has my purpose strong enough that regardless of what anyone else thinks, I'm not going to let it sway my decision. I'm not going to let it impact what I'm doing. And I'm going to keep pushing hard because that's my goal. That's what I want to do. That's what I am fired up about and focused on, regardless if anyone else understands it. So you need to think about that. I've had a lot of people who have chose to not compete because their family was so unsupportive. They dragged them down every time they got around them with their food choices, with how much they were going to the gym, that they just decided it wasn't for them anymore. So you have to think about your mindset going into prep. You have to identify what your purpose is for competing and make sure that purpose is strong. If that purpose is not strong enough, you are really going to struggle with having a good mindset during prep. Other harsh realities of competing is thinking about what your purpose is and what your plans are. If you are just stepping on stage because you lost weight or you just really want to step on stage and you don't care how you place and you truly don't care how you place, then that's great and maintain that. And I'm a firm believer if you want to compete, you should. However, if you're someone that wants to be competitive and really wants to place well, which as you guys know, you can't really dictate how these judges are going to score you. It's very subjective. But what you need to do is either yourself or have someone with outside perspective who's not going to give you a biased opinion look at you and actually say, are you really built for competing? And that is a harsh reality. Not everyone is meant to compete. You need to kind of look at your physique, look at where your muscle is, look at the different divisions, whether it's bikini or figure or physique or bodybuilding, what have you, and really ask yourself if your body is meant to compete. Because unless you're going to physically enhance yourself in certain ways, you're not going to be able to change your bone structure. Muscle mass doesn't happen overnight. There's only certain things you can control. So looking at your body as it is right now, are you in a place where you can lean out and actually be competitive on stage? Are you going to be someone that's going to stand out on stage? Or not? Are you going to be someone that's going to place last? And again, someone's got to place last, but you have to be okay with that going into the competition, or else you are going to set yourself up for a world of mental fuck post-show, which is a whole other aspect of it. But are you truly competitive? Do you have the physique for what it takes? And not everyone does. So you need to ask someone and get the opinion of someone who's not just, I would suggest getting the opinion of someone who's not, I would hope your coach is honest with you, but ask someone who you're not paying, okay? Because if you're paying someone or looking to pay someone, I fear they may not answer you honestly if they're trying to get you to sign up for a bikini prep package, for instance. So find someone that's going to give you an honest answer of how you look. Do you have what it takes? Are you close enough? And if you could even be competitive on stage if that is your goal. The other reality of prep is the time that it takes to put into it. And this isn't something that everyone thinks about. Maybe you're someone that already invests a lot of time into the gym, into your physique, into healthy eating, and you want to take it to the next level. It's the next step for you, and that's great. But be aware that the time you're going to invest into competing is so much more than just your everyday healthy lifestyle. You're about to spend a ton of time in the gym above and beyond what you were already spending in the gym. You may even have to go to the gym twice a day. Some people go 3 times a day, and odds are you're going to be going to the gym almost every day of the week during a prep for a competition. You're also going to want to get adequate sleep and rest, because if you're not sleeping enough and recovering, that's going to impact the results you're having in terms of fat loss. That's going to impact your muscle recovery, your fatigue. So you need to also be able to squeeze in the time to sleep and get adequate rest. You're also going to need to be shopping, and grocery shopping once a week is not going to be enough during prep. You are probably going to have to be going to the grocery store. I go 2 to 3 times a week, but sometimes we've even gone almost every day, because there may be 1 or 2 things you run out of. You're eating multiple meals throughout the day. You're going to be doing a lot of grocery shopping, and with that, you need to have the time available to prep the meals as well. Unless you're planning on paying for a meal prep service, which is an added expense, or you're planning on hiring out Shredded Heezy, you are going to have to spend quite a bit of time prepping meals. So you're going to the gym once or twice a day. You're shopping for your meals. You're prepping for your meals. You're going to need to practice your posing. This is something that people often forego because they feel like it's the last on the list. I don't need to worry about it. And that is one of the number 1 things you need to be worrying about if you want to be competitive in the sport. So you also need to be carving in that time to practice your posing. With that, you probably have to work a job. I'm gonna guess. Maybe some of you don't. That's super titties. But most of us do have to work a job. So in addition to your 40-hour work week, you're gonna have to do all these things required. And on top of that, maybe you have a family. Maybe you have kids and a husband. Maybe you have a social life, and spending time with your family and friends is really important to you. So you're gonna wanna fit that in as well. These are all things that it takes up those 24 hours we have in a day very quickly. So you have to find a way to be able to fit it all in. If you can't allocate the time for that, then maybe competing is not for you, because these are going to be things that are going to be required of you if you want to step on stage. So you need to find a way to be able to kind of schedule it all in and make it work. And again, if you are okay with that going into your prep, you're going to have a more positive mindset about the whole prepping experience. But if you get 4 weeks into prep and your coach increases your cardio, you can't get pissed at them. It's part of the process. I'm sorry you you have to spend more time in the gym, but you're also telling me you want to be lean enough to get on the stage to be a bikini competitor. So which is it? These are those sacrifices you're going to have to make. So understand that going into the process and know that your time is going to be strapped and it's going to be tight. So you have two options. You can take it as your challenge and go with it and do the best you can, or you can be pissed off every waking moment of the day and have a very negative experience with it. So it's a lot of time. You got to know that going into it. All right, guys, I think I touched on all the kind of harsh realities of prep that I wanted to bring up. Again, I do love the sport, so don't get me wrong. I just want you to take everything that I just talked about into consideration before you really decide if competing is really for you or not. Make sure you spend enough time thinking about all those things. And I didn't touch on in detail, but you also need to consider the post-show experience and how you would handle that as well. I think that's really important. So use that as part of your decision if you really are going to compete or not. I hope you guys took everything I said to heart. Please comment below if any of those hit home with you. And I will be back with more vlogs this week. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one.